I'm Sergeant speaking with Earthwalker Primitives. One thing I love to teach, and I teach a lot about, especially with the winter coming, and I even have a couple classes that we designate to teaching, is cold weather survival, cold weather living. So we're going to be having a lot of videos coming out soon in the near future, especially with snow on the ground. Hopefully we get more, get a lot more lessons out. One thing I want to talk about first off, the simple acronym that's used when talking about cold weather survival, and it's simply the word COLD. And what COLD refers to is the proper dressing attire for being out in the elements in the cold. And we're going to be going over, I'm going to have another video coming out here shortly on exactly what I recommend people wear, different types of clothing, articles of clothing, and how to implement them in a cold weather system. But first thing I just want to do is go over the acronym. Like I said, it's the word COLD, C.O.L.D. First letter is C, obviously, which is keep your clothes clean, clean and oil free. The reason for that is your clothes need to breathe. They need to be able to breathe and let out all the moisture and all the excessive heat, and also be able to block any cold moisture from coming in. If your clothes are dirty and the pores in the clothes are clogged up with dirt, they can't breathe. They can't do that. They can't let out all that excess heat and also that excess moisture to let your body dry out and let your clothes dry. So you want to keep your clothes clean as much as you can. If you have the opportunity to wash them while you're out in the woods, to hang them or whatnot, beat them clean, whatever you have to do to keep them clean. Also oil-free. Petroleum products, you want to keep them off your clothing. If you're working with petroleum products, you especially don't want to, if you have gloves and you need to fill a generator with gas, the best thing is to take your gloves off. If you get that petroleum on your gloves or on your clothing, that will not freeze. So it's going to be constantly wet, and it's going to be just another a vice for the cold to get to you and prevent you from staying warm. Next letter is O, which stands for overheating. Obviously, you want to avoid overheating. Reason being, if you're out there bundled up, keeping dry, and then you go do a lot of physical activity and you're sweating, once you stop moving, once you stop that physical activity, that sweat's going to freeze. It's going to drop your core temperature. If you don't know, 98.6 degrees is the core temperature of your body. That's what your body needs to sustain to be healthy and survive in the cold. If it drops below that, that's when you get into the problems of hypothermia and other issues. So keeping yourself from overheating is a key part, because you don't want to sweat. If you are going to do physical activity or you feel yourself getting hot, starting to sweat, take off a few layers. When you shed layers, you want to wear more than one layer. That way you can shed off those layers so you're not building up sweat. When you stop, you're not going to freeze yourself. If you're warm, you don't need all those layers. So take them off. It's better to take them off and be able to put them back on when you get cold, rather than keep them on, sweat, and then freeze when you stop, or freeze at night and get hypothermia. The next letter is L, and that's for loosen layers. You want to wear your clothing loose, or you want to wear layers. One, if you wear layers, you can shed them off easily. As you get overheated or get cold, you can add or take away. The other reason why you want to wear loose layers is each layer that you make is an air barrier. Your body heat is going to warm up that air barrier, and that's going to be a further protection from the cold and keep you even warmer. If they're not loose, if they're tight and constricting, you're preventing that air barrier from forming. If all your clothes are just matted together real tight and form-fitting or skin-tight, there's going to be no air between those clothes, so there's nothing that's going to warm up and keep your body warm. So keep them loose, keep them layered. That way you have air in between your layers and a barrier of warm air between your body and the outside elements. The last letter is D, which simply is dry. Keep dry. That involves sweating, water, snow, whatever you have to do, keep yourself dry. Sometimes that can be impossible, but whenever you have the opportunity to get a warm spot, or if you're in a warm area by a fire, get those clothes off. I'm out in the woods a lot, and I see a bunch of people in all their clothing, freezing their butt off, huddled next to a fire. That's really not doing anything. It's warming the outside of your clothing. It might be drying off the outside of your clothing, but it's not doing nothing for the inside of your clothing, and it's not doing nothing for your core temperature. If you're by a fire, get those layers off. Hang them up by the fire. Get them dry. That heat touching your bare body, or as close to bare body as it possibly can, is going to warm your core temperature up more than that clothing will. So keep dry whenever you have the opportunity. Dry yourself out. If you're sleeping, especially if you're sleeping in a sleeping bag, take your clothes off. I spent a lot of time in the Army up in cold weather environments, sleeping out in the woods with 3-4 feet of snow for a month at a time. One thing I always told my soldiers, you're going to get in your sleeping bag, get naked. You're going to warm yourself up more because the body heat's going to warm up that bag. Plus your clothing's going to dry out. Take that clothing, stuff it down in the foot of your sleeping bag. Keep it dry. Your body heat will dry it out. Plus you also sweat in your sleep. So if you have your clothing on, when you wake up, that clothing's just going to be moist and damp. When you get out in the elements, it's just going to get colder, and you're just going to freeze. So keep yourself dry every opportunity you can. Get yourself dried out. So that's the acronym, C.O.L.D. You'll hear me talk a lot about that when I talk about clothing and proper cold weather systems to wear. Obviously, we'll go over the acronym again. C.O.L.D. C stands for clean and oil-free. O, avoid overheating. L, loose and layered. And D, dry. So I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll definitely be back with more cold weather tips. Sergeant speaking with Earth Walker Primitives. Thank you.